We are a network of state and local elected officials in 50 states who are committed to protecting our planet and people who we represent from the dangers of the climate emergency, water insecurity, and public health challenges from pollution, led by lawmakers who are veterans and elected officials who represent communities on the front lines of pollution and the climate crisis. The issue we're going to talk about today is transportation. I served in office for 8 years, supervisor of Caroline, New York, in upstate New York, and so know firsthand growing up on a dirt road, having to walk 2 miles to a bus line, how important it is to have transportation choices that are accessible and efficient for all New Yorkers and for New Jerseyans as well. So we're here today because more than 90 elected officials from 22 counties in New York and 115 elected officials from 19 counties in New Jersey are calling on New York State, New Jersey to lead the region in committing to the Transportation and Climate Initiative. So first, we're going to introduce as our speaker, Freeholder Council President from Essex County, forgive me, in New Jersey, and steering committee or leadership council member of elected officials for Protect America in New Jersey, Freeholder Gill.
Thank you, Dominic, and thank you for all of your work and for inviting me back and for giving me, I think, only the second opportunity to throw on a tie in the last 5 months. So I appreciate that. I really, again, couldn't be more pleased to join you. As stated, I am the president of what are known in New Jersey as freeholder boards. We actually just have changed the name this year, effective January 1st, to commissioner. I am the president of the legislative body of our board of what will be known as the January 1st County Commissioner Board in Essex County, which is home to New Jersey's largest city, Newark, New Jersey, and is a county of close to 900,000 people in the northern portion of our state. And I'm really honored to be, again, a co-chair of this, of the elected officials to Protect America here in New Jersey. A few weeks back, as mentioned, I was honored to be joined by Mayor Maley of Collingswood, who I see on with us today, Freeholder Karen Fitzpatrick from Atlantic County, and others to speak about TCI and the need for government leaders to exhibit a new sense of urgency with respect to protecting our environment and our health for future generations. We're here really today to hopefully encourage our leaders both in New Jersey and in New York who have a tremendous opportunity to lead the nation into a new era in which government entities can embrace the challenges of engaging in environmental responsibility. TCI, as we call it, seeks to address those issues of pollution and public health while generating investment in environmentally friendly transportation infrastructure projects that will help bolster the economy. This is particularly, on a personal note, what has attracted me to TCI, the opportunity to advance environmentally friendly transportation projects. I believe, particularly in our more densely populated areas and areas that have been subject to so much environmental injustice, are key in our response to the climate challenges that we face both as a state and as a nation. A concrete example of one of those projects, and I want to use this opportunity to give it a plug because I'm a huge supporter of it, would be our Essex Hudson Greenway, potentially here in New Jersey. It's a project that's in the development stages, but it's a transformational project which upon completion would connect 11 miles of old freight rail line that's about 1,000 feet wide and stretches from our biggest city, Newark, and connects to Jersey City. It would create a biking and walking trail and promote local economic recovery by connecting neighboring communities with business districts, with parks, and with places of employment. And it would provide a huge commuting option, an environmentally commuting option for residents in one of the most densely parted areas of our state. That's the type of project that entering into the TCI and effectuating the TCI policy that we could make a reality. That project just maybe 5 or 6 short years ago was really just a dream, a concept. There's now a tremendous amount of momentum from our local elected officials to make this Essex Hudson Greenway a reality, and the state of New Jersey entering into this memorandum of understanding is something that can help make this a reality. So projects like the Essex Hudson Greenway are the types of environmentally friendly transportation initiatives that the TCI seeks to bring about, throughout our entire state, north, central, and south. And yes, I'm one who does believe there is a central Jersey. The TCI is also focused on curbing pollutions from cars and trucks. As we know, the greatest source of our human-made greenhouse gases. The transportation sector is responsible for more than 42% of New Jersey's greenhouse gas pollution, and 40%, my understanding, of New York's. So this pollution, as we know, jeopardizes human health and drives the climate into crisis. It causes asthma, premature deaths, heart and lung disease, and has increased mortality rates from COVID-19, especially in communities of color suffering from environmental injustice. According to the Georgetown Climate Center, by joining TCI, New Jersey could help reduce regional pollution by 63%, preventing more than 1,000 pollution-related deaths and generating over $10 billion in reduced healthcare costs. So there are other statistics, numbers, and benefits I can cite, which will speak to the financial and health benefits from New Jersey joining the TCI. But most importantly, I'd like to share a thought, which I certainly agree with, articulated most recently by our president-elect, Joe Biden, in a recent interview. President-elect Biden stated that the nation has 4 major issues which we are confronted with as we move into 2021. The COVID-19 pandemic and the health of our citizens, our economy rebounding from the issues we experienced in 2020, addressing the racial inequalities in our nation, which continue to exist, and last but certainly not least, climate change and the need to engage in environmental responsibility to save our planet. So I would offer that New Jersey and New York has a real opportunity to address all of those issues by joining the TCI. Should Governor Murphy join the TCI, this could mean up to $1.4 billion in funds and projects to be generated for New York State annually, and $750 million annually projected for New Jersey. The TRECH project research study of the Transportation Climate Initiative found that carbon dioxide emissions from transportation could be cut by as much as 25% by 2032. According to this study, this would lead also to a reduction of 1,100 related pollution-related deaths and 4,700 related childhood asthma cases annually up and down the East Coast, and potentially provide up to $11.1 billion in health benefits. So ultimately, we need to serve our underserved communities, particularly those that have been hardest hit by environmental injustices, the ones that have been traditionally victimized by these large transportation projects in close proximity to their neighborhoods. I deal with many of those on a local level in my county. So I'm excited to support the Transportation Climate Initiative, because we have an opportunity to provide environmental protections for those communities that are being hurt pretty hard right now. We have an ability to prioritize investments potentially in those communities, and also establish oversight through building coalitions of elected leaders like we're doing here today. So we have over, I believe, 200 local elected officials who have signed on. I'm happy to support that effort to encourage Governor Murphy and our statewide leaders in New Jersey to enter in to this memorandum of understanding to be a part of TCI. It's an opportunity that we shouldn't pass up, and one that I will continue to advocate and support as long as I'm blessed to have the opportunity to serve the people of Essex County. Dominic, thank you so much.
Thank you, Commission President Gill. Really appreciate your comments and lifting up the local projects like the one that you talked so eloquently about, that can really show the benefit of this program to local communities, and also the health benefits that you spoke to. So appreciate that very much. Next, we'll go to Assistant Assembly Speaker of New York State, Feliz Ortiz, from the 51st Assembly District in New York, and the National Leadership Council member of elected officials to protect America. And I understand, Assistant Speaker Feliz Ortiz, you just got off a press conference, so welcome. Congratulations. Oh, you're on mute.
Now, can we see? Can you hear me? Okay. Yes, I just got out of a wonderful milestone press conference where finally the controller of the state of New York decided to divest pension fund from fossil fuels. So at 1 p.m. we're having the real press conference with the controller, Senator Kruger, and myself, the three of us, making the big announcement. As we're looking forward for the next 4 years that the controller will divest completely from fossil fuel pension investment. So it's a win-win situation for not just New York State, but I think it's a win-win situation for the future of our children as well, and also throughout the country and throughout the globe. Well, let me just go to what we are here for, TCI. I'm very proud to be here with all of you, and thank you again for many part of this conversation. I think it's no question in my mind that in order for us to tackle the health disparity and the health issue that is happening in low income and community of color or minority community, is by building a consensus. This memorandum of understanding is critical with endorsement, because when we're talking about air quality and poor air quality in one state versus the other, bad air quality and pollution transcend without borders. Whether you have a border or you don't have lines dividing one state versus the other, they all pass by. So therefore, I just want to make clear that I will continue to pursue the governor, especially because the governor today is the president of the Governor Association as well. So he really have a very important role to play. So for my governor to really continue the fight of climate change, environmental issues in our state, I think this will be another great opportunity and a great addition to protect the future of our children and our family. I represent the 51st Assembly District, as you stated, Dominic, in Sunset Park, covers Sunset Park and Red Hook. We have about 55,000 tons of truck that come from through the Verrazano Bridge, through the BQE, from New Jersey, passing by the middle of my district. We have a total of 14 schools next to the BQE, what we call the highway. 70% of those kids miss school either because they have asthma or because they have bronchitis issues. And when you find out why the kids in Sunset Park having problem with academic and attending school, this is the issue. This is why I do support this initiative, and it's critical that we continue to push both governors to support this memorandum of understanding. Lastly, when we make investment in clean energy, economy, we need to create jobs that make sense to our people in our community as well. So this TCI will save life by decreasing the dangers of air pollution from transportation vehicles, especially of these trucks that passing by. And I'm looking forward for the conversation and to entertain that we hope that both governors will stand together sooner than later. As has been pointed out, President-elect Biden have a very aggressive climate change agenda, which we should be part of it as well. So thank you for having me, and let's continue to support this. Let's continue to make this conversation more loud and clear to both governors that they can join forces the same way they have been joining forces to tackle COVID-19.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker Ortiz, and really want to lift up your comments about the human impacts of pollution in your district, and just how severe it is for even to the level of kids being able to learn, and impacting their lives through asthma. And also, you're lifting up your last comments on the regional collaboration, and that the governors really have an opportunity to lead here. So much appreciation for your leadership, and congratulations again on the huge divestment from fossil fuels victory. Next, we will hear from Mayor Maley of Collingswood, New Jersey, who's a leadership council member of elected officials to protect America in New Jersey. Mayor Maley.
Thanks, Dominic. And I want to say thank you to all the other elected officials that are here today. It is really a great thing to see everyone trying to get a regional approach to this. I'll tell you real quickly, Collingswood, we're 2.5 square miles, about 14,000 people, way down the south of New Jersey. We're right outside Philadelphia, right outside the city of Camden. And I've been doing this for way too long, but I've been doing it for a while. And as mayor, we are all about the boundary. We are focused on trying to do things for our town, make our town a better place. When it comes to the economy, we're focused on how do we keep our business district going? How do we take care of everything within our boundaries? And there are few issues, we believe generally that, and I know this may not be appropriate for climate change, but that rising tides kind of raise all boats, so when good things happen in our area, they help all of us. But when it comes to the issue of addressing greenhouse, of climate change, trying to do environmentally sound practices, there is only so much a little town can do. And there is only so much impact we can have that really makes any kind of a difference for all of our families, for all of our residents. We sit right outside Camden, and issues of environmental justice certainly have an impact on their communities. But when there are issues that involve polluting areas with a higher concentration of minorities, they don't have boundaries either. So those areas, we're an inner ring suburb around Philadelphia and Camden, and those issues affect us as well and have a greater impact on all of those suburban communities that are adjacent to the more urban areas. So it is one that on all levels requires a regional approach to it. That is where I've been in office for over 30 years. This is the first time I've ever been involved in any kind of an issue that involves beyond our state. So it's a sign of how critical this is that we work together. Felix, I apologize to the legislator that I do wholeheartedly agree with you that I'm hopeful that one of the things that comes out of this pandemic is that we have had states that have coordinated and worked together and found new ways of communication so that we can carry that on to the other issues. We can carry that beyond. I think it's a great advantage for us at this time to, while we're all talking to each other, let's add another issue onto the agenda so that we can try to address it. And the last point that I want to make is simply that it is one for our economy, to try and develop those jobs and begin to improve areas of our economy, because we're trying to brace in our little town for what comes out, next spring into the summer, for what the impact is going to be. We got a little old business district, old classic kind of Mayberry, business area that we're expecting to be pretty severely devastated as we get through this. So on that local level, we're trying to address it, finding ways where in these new economy, we can create other jobs, get people put to work with any infrastructure changes would be a huge advantage for all of us, would help us beyond our boundaries and also within, and really try to continue to make life better for all of our residents. So I thank everyone for their cooperation. I look forward to doing some more regional things together. I think it's a great idea, really looking forward to it. And thank you to Dominic and the crew for coordinating us, for giving us an ability to actually talk to one another. And I think great things will come out of it. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor Maley, for your comments, and really appreciated you saying that, this work has an opportunity to bring us together. And, the climate crisis, the pandemic crisis that we're facing, that we need new ways of collaboration. And this is one of those ways. And also obviously the economic benefits to our communities of investing in infrastructure. So thank you for your comments, Mayor. Next, we will hear from William Reinhardt, Albany County Legislator, who's a longtime member and Leadership Council member of elected officials to protect America in New York. Take it away, Legislator Reinhardt.
All right, thank you very much. What I want to do first is just give you a little bit more background about myself, because I think it'll inform what the words I say about money and capital, which is really what, to me, TCI is all about. I had a professional career at NYSERDA. I worked with industry, large and small, on innovation and new technology, mostly energy efficiency and environmentally related. Then I got involved in local government, first in the town of Bethlehem and now in Albany County. So from that background, what I want to talk about is the dollars of TCI and why I think they are so critical for local governments achieving their sustainability goals. We have to stimulate green investment at every level of government. This is not something that just the federal government or even the state government can do. We at the local level have, at least in my experience, a whole range of investments that we would like to do, but we don't have the money to do them. Whether you're a city, a town, or a county government, you can look at in the area of transportation, which is our focus today. You can look at big transit projects. You can look at that what to me sounds like a wonderful project that was mentioned in the very beginning by Brendan, connecting Newark and Jersey City. But in many county and town focus, it's electric vehicles, it's bike and pedestrian projects. It's in the case of Bethlehem right now, we're going through the town of Bethlehem in Albany County. We're going through a comp plan review, and the focus last night in our Zoom call was in large respects for the sustainability effort, bike, pedestrian, and connectivity within the community. And that means connectivity not just within a suburban community, but within the rural parts of Albany County, it would apply. Within the city of Albany itself, it would apply. So these are all areas where TCI can help generate the capital that would allow local governments to actually implement the things that they know they should do. The problem has always been, how do we get the money? And I just want to make the point here that both Albany County, but even Bethlehem, where I live, the town of Bethlehem is a rich suburban community by the standards of most local governments. We have all kinds of things we'd like to do, and we have a very proactive citizenry, many of whom spoke last night at our Zoom event. But even us, we have issues with funding these things. So it's a problem that exists at every level of government, at the local level, and every community. So to me, the lack of investment capital is really a critical barrier to achieving sustainability goals and in transportation specifically. And that's why TCI is so critical, in my opinion. That has to happen if we're going to get the money to do what we know we should do. We even in many cases have plans to do them, but we need the capital to do it. And the last point I want to make is that we have no choice but to try to generate this capital one way or another and spend the money on the climate emergency, because if we don't, the cost of inaction is so much greater than any cost for any of these solutions that work in different communities. We're not all going to have the same solutions, but we have to bite the bullet and spend the money, because the cost of not doing so is far greater. And that's really the point that I think we have to hammer home with people everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Reinhardt, for your comments and lifting up the fact that many local governments, like you mentioned, have these infrastructure projects on their lists for years and need some capital in order to make these good sustainability-focused projects happen in a way that can reduce pollution and reduce emissions. As you so eloquently said, the cost of inaction as well. So thank you, Legislator. Next, we'll turn to Councilor of Manlius, New York, Caitlin Creasel, who is also a leadership council member of elected officials Protect America in New York. Take it away, Councilor Creasel.
Good morning, Dominic. Thank you so much for having me. I'd like to just mention, I'm sorry I was a little late this morning. I was in the other press conference happening, which relates to divesting the New York State pension from fossil fuel companies. So it's really a privilege to be in both of those press conferences. So much happening around the state today, and we're definitely heading the right direction and how we are going to handle the challenge of climate change and move forward to a renewable energy and a green economy. So what I'll add here this morning, my colleagues have echoed so many of my own thoughts, and I won't just continue to repeat that sentiment and those facts. But what I'll say is that as a town councilor and as someone that's been active in sustainability for my whole career, there have been such great programs that have come out over those years. With electricity in Central New York, we had the Solarize CNY campaign, which I was the project coordinator of. And there are community solar campaigns happening in Central New York and all around the state. In Central New York, we have the Heat Smart campaign for geothermal. So we've got heating and cooling initiatives coming out of the state, energy efficiency programs coming out of NYSERDA. And in the town of Manlius, we're taking advantage of all of those. We're really moving forward in the town to do as much as we can to allow and support and empower the citizens and the businesses in the town of Manlius to take advantage of all of these different initiatives. But the one thing that's really missing and that's been missing is transportation. There aren't very many, if really any, accessible initiatives for residents, for community members in New York State that would help them to deal with transportation. And a large part of that is because the roads and the infrastructure are largely held outside of our own personal control. And so a bill like this will really help to get the work done that needs to get done so that we can modernize and make very green and sustainable all of the sectors of the energy economy, not just heating and cooling and not just electricity, but transportation, which is of course, one of the, especially in a car-centric community like mine, is one of the biggest emissions creators. So I'm really excited to be a part of this legislation and to be supporting it. And I hope that we see it move forward in New York State and regionally. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Creasel, and really appreciate your comments on the holistic approach that we need to take with this and looking not just in one sector, but all the different sectors, and also for highlighting your leadership as well on the divestment major announcement coming out this morning. So thank you for your leadership as well at the local level. And next we will turn to Rochester City Council member Mary Lupien. Councilmember Lupien, take it away.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so proud to support the Transportation Climate Initiative. and I'm here to lend my voice representing Rochester, joining other local elected officials from Rochester in the voices of over 200 others in urging Governor Cuomo and Governor Murphy to sign the MOU, committing our states to the TCI by the end of the year. We know that humans are responsible for the dangerous levels of carbon and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and that the transportation sector accounts for almost half of them. During the shutdown caused by COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen the dramatic reduction in carbon caused by the entire world reducing how much and how far we travel. We should not let this moment of pause go by without taking the time to pivot and reimagine how we can create a more green and sustainable future. TCI is a powerful agreement that would move us in that direction by reinvesting from polluting companies directly into creating clean and renewable transportation infrastructure, like expanded and clean mass transit, school buses, biking and walking projects, EV infrastructure, and more. These local initiatives would greatly reduce the amount of pollution in our atmosphere, in our air, and create good green jobs. Rochester is a community of about 200,000 and is a Rust Belt city that has suffered years of disinvestment fueled by white flight. And our transportation infrastructure was geared towards cars and specifically to getting those cars quickly in and out of Rochester to ease the commutes of suburbanites. That trend is reversing now, and new Rochesterians want more urban, vibrant experience where they can reduce their reliance on the automobile. We've already started to invest in electric buses and infrastructure in Rochester with the help of the VW settlement, and are currently working to expand our network of bike lanes. Our climate action plan is ambitious, but it's difficult to achieve our goals without investment from the state. In New York, the CLCPA, which is the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, commits us to reserving more than 30% of these investments for frontline low and moderate income communities. Rochester has some of the highest poverty numbers, not just in the state, but in the country. And our deficient transportation infrastructure has been identified as a key factor to our high poverty rates, as the system doesn't cover well where the jobs are and can take hours for workers to commute to and from work. Green jobs are good, well-paying jobs, and Rochester has suffered a lack of living wage jobs since the decline of our big corporations like Kodak and Xerox. This injection of investment from the TCI would mean a lot for my city and help us in achieving equity in Rochester. We are a city that is ready and willing to meet our climate goals, and the TCI can help us get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lupien, and appreciate your lifting up the perspective also of upstate New York and the benefits that this program would have for a major post-industrial city like Rochester, and the value that it would bring. So appreciate your comments there. With that, we will open it up to questions from the press, and we've already got some questions coming in. The first is, how would TCI help a small town in upstate New York or in rural New Jersey? And I think the context of the question is centered on given a lot of infrastructure and investments go to the larger cities.
So this is Maley here, and I'll just tell you because the advantage tying all this together of the funding being made available will assist us in reducing the number of cars that our communities need to have in order to survive. Here down in South Jersey, we have very, very limited train service, just as an example. So in order for folks, and we also have, in my town, we have a thriving restaurant district. And for people to get here from anywhere else in South Jersey, they're driving, okay? That's the only way they can possibly get here. So having the money available to improve that train infrastructure, just as one, is gonna take us a long way to try to improve the environment while still keeping our economy alive. That availability of funding is what it's all about for even the small towns.
Legislator Reinhardt, feel free to jump in.
I just want to mention that in my remarks, I talked about connectivity, and that's an issue which applies everywhere. It may be a different issue in New York City compared to rural Albany County up in the hill towns or in the suburban community of Bethlehem that I live in. But each community has their own issues of how to get around within their community and between their community and their neighboring community. So this funding can actually help every level, as I said before, achieve that kind of connectivity which makes sense for that community. So it's very much it's not a one solution for everybody, but it allows every community to figure out what makes the most sense for them and to help pay for it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Legislator and Mayor. If no one else wants to take that one, then we can go to the next question, which was, is this just another gas tax? And who will the fee of this fall onto? Any takers on that one?
Dominique?
All right, well, I can chime in, which is so this is a cap and invest program, and the fee is being assessed on, unlike a gas tax, the fee is being assessed on the polluter, on the oil companies, and the oil companies then decide what to do with that, if they are going to pass that on to the consumer or not. Some of the studies that have come out about TCI have shown that it would if there was any increase in the tax, in gas prices at the pump, for example, it would be within the normal range of distribution of average gas prices in the year. So it wouldn't be that noticeable or drastically increase it. But it is not a gas tax; it's a fee on oil producers and the distributors.
Dominique?
Please.
I'd like to chime in and just say there's an analogy to the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, RGGI, that I observed being implemented when I was still working at NYSERDA. And that was also a regional strategy that was started in the Northeast many years ago now. But it functions in very much the same way. And what I will say is that I was able to watch how the RGGI funding really facilitated a lot of energy efficiency and renewable energy development. This was focused on utilities and pollution coming from utility power plants, but it was very effective, I believe, in terms of generating the capital, as I alluded to, and also creating the funding for not only the utilities and the incentives for the utilities to go cleaner in their power plants, but also it funded demand side measures to reduce energy use and to support renewable energy developments.
Thank you, Legislator Reinhardt, for those comments, and also for bringing the issue of RGGI, which is, given your expertise with NYSERDA on this issue, has been a long-standing and successful program. That TCI is certainly learning from, both the things that can be done better, and also learning about the positive benefits as well. So thank you so much for your involvement in that and bringing that up. We do have another question, which is how will the proceeds of TCI be distributed so that environmental justice issues are being acknowledged and addressed with TCI?
Dominic, isn't all that we have right now that the percentage, 35% has been committed to be spent on environmental justice issues, and then that's got to be something that gets worked out probably within each state and with an ear toward a regional cooperation on it?
Yes, that's right, Mayor Maley. The jurisdictions of 13 jurisdictions, 12 states, and DC have announced that they will, and they are hearing a lot from grassroots activists, from citizens about concern of environmental justice. So they have announced that they will commit at least 35% of the revenue to go towards environmental justice communities. That is one step, and I will point out also that many of the elected officials on this call have been part of conversations, and EOPA has also sent a letter to the jurisdictions requesting a number of environmental justice policies complement TCI, including transparency, representation from frontline communities, ensuring that there's adequate, tracking and that these projects do go to environmental, communities that are impacted the most. Absolutely, Mayor Maley. Any other comments on that question? We're speaking to why it is so important to address environmental justice issues. Great. The next question, we just got one or two more here. It looks like, so that how will the TCI, given this is a regional initiative, how will the initiative be successful if only some states sign on? How does one, for the states that have not yet decided, what is the argument to get those states to participate? And I think this is a question about the regional importance of a regional approach.
Dominic, I would just say that and I think this has been highlighted before, by my colleagues on on the call, is that one of the at least what I would say small silver linings in the crisis that we're all dealing with has been to encourage and increase the level of communication between statewide leaders. There's just no doubt about it. From what I see in New Jersey, the communication both with the governor of New York and the governor of Pennsylvania has greatly increased as they have to navigate the response to the pandemic. So I think, hopefully, as we move forward in other issue areas like this, we will see, more of that type of communication and more of that regional approach, because it seems fairly obvious to me that that the type of public policy that we need to create and that which the Transportation Climate Initiative supports has to be done in some broad strokes with with a regional approach, with a regional bent. And although we don't have everyone yet on board, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to try to encourage as many of our like-minded neighbors and neighboring states to participate. This is a particular initiative that really is the future. And you see it actually, in my mind, you see it actually in New Jersey, in particular. The mayor probably knows this well. We're a state that has over 565 municipalities, 21 counties. We have multiple layers of government here in New Jersey, and you see across all of these issue areas that there's a movement, particularly in the issue of climate and the issue of interconnectivity and the issue, in the areas of transportation, complete streets, all these types of, sustainability. Those are things that cannot be done, that cannot be approached, in what I would call one-off manners. They have to include conversations across community lines, across county lines, and across state lines. And that's what we need to do here.
Thank you, Commissioner President Gill. And I know the Assistant Speaker Ortiz needs to jump to the next press conference. So Assistant Speaker Ortiz, one question for you that came in, and maybe this ties into your next press conference, is given that the oil companies are fighting progress in so many different ways, how realistic is what needs to be done in order to kind of address the influence of the industry, and what is New York State doing in that regard as well?
Let me just point out that the controller of the state of New York has complete control and responsibility of our pension and investments in New York State. So what we have done here with this divesting for fossil fuel is that we have met for over 2 years with the oil company, having conversation back and forth. And the reality is that when this pandemic took place, COVID-19, we began to notice something that was very interesting, that the stock market on fossil fuel was going down and was not having no impact. So therefore, we reconvened again about 3 months ago. So we began to talk again about what would be the best way. Do we want to put legislation, or we want to have you, Controller, to take the initiative to move forward with some kind of initiative? So the Controller decided to put another group of people together. And finally, last week or 2 weeks ago, we came up with a consensus that the Controller will have the initiative to ensure that we will divest from fossil fuel. I think that what is coming here is something that was mentioned before. You know, climate change is serious, it's real, and it's here. COVID-19 has demonstrating us that while we was paralyzed for 5 or 6 months, we began to see a better environment developing in different areas in our country and around the globe. You know, you take, for example, Italy, where Venice, they began to see different type of species coming back because the boat was not running. That's also there was the same issue with less vehicle passing from the BQE. We began to see the emission dropping down. So this is going to be a very interesting next 4 years, beginning today, for the Controller to begin to move out of fossil fuel investments. And the oil company and all this industry has been on the position to be helpful, because they're already beginning to see the writing on the wall. You have 1,200 countries who has divested. You have a lot of municipalities that are moving in the same direction. So New York State to take the initiative today and this giant step, not only become to be a historical moment, but everybody now throughout the country and throughout the globe is watching very close how New York is going to move forward. And I have my hope that we will prevail.
Wonderful. Thank you, Assistant Speaker Ortiz. And I think that is a good place to close it. So thank you. We will continue working on these important issues, and we thank all the elected officials who are here today and all that have participated on our letters and raising up their voices, and really appreciate your leadership at the local level, at the state level, and regionally and beyond. So thank you so much. With that, we will close the press conference, and if the electeds who would like to stay on to do a brief clip, feel free to do so. So with that, we will close the press conference. Okay. All right, it looks like all the press and other attendees are gone. So Commissioner President Gill, I understand you've already done a video, and same with me or Maley. If you're welcome, if you'd like to, feel free to do another one.
Good, thank you.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
One's enough. I'm good. Thanks, Dominic. Good to see you all.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. We'll be in touch on next steps. Yep, take care.
Dominic, thank you. Take care.
Yep, you too.
Speak soon.
And thanks again for coming and participating, speaking so eloquently. And it was great to see the tie. It's true. I didn't think about it, but it is rare to see a tie these days.
No problem. Thank you for what you're doing. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and getting me engaged. And as I said, whatever more my office can do, please don't hesitate. As we move forward.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, I think the qualities on these clips are great. So we'll definitely turn these into some more social media memes for you.
Great. Thanks all.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
All right.
All right, Bill, do you want to do a short clip?
Yeah. How much time are we talking about? What do you want to give me?
Whatever you would like. We typically do like 30 to 60 seconds, 30 seconds.
Okay.
But, if you want to go for 5 minutes, that's
No,
good
no, no,
too,
no,
right?
no. I think what I will do is just say something that will be, it'll be a pieces of what I said before, kind of like the very beginning and the very end, and I think it should be around 30 seconds. So is this, do I need to say, do I need to spell out what TCI is, or is this going to be in a context of some information that's going to be available for people to see first before they see a clip? What?
Yeah, thank you. Great point. Yeah, you can cover as much as you'd like. We will have in the videos, and Christian and Ramona jump in, but we typically have context, written context, explaining what it is.
All right. So, yeah, I will. I will say something that I can start whenever you'd like.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Go for it.
Okay. I want to speak for a moment about the need for transportation investments for sustainability across all of our communities. Every level of government needs money to pay for those sustainability initiatives that it seeks to implement, whether it's transit, electric vehicles, bike and pedestrian access, or connectivity between different parts of their communities. This is a real issue in the town of Bethlehem I live in Albany County where I live, and really across the region, the entire Northeast. All of these strategies are ways to address the climate emergency. And we have to address the climate emergency. The cost of inaction is far greater than the cost of any solutions that we might consider as appropriate for our communities. So we have to get going on this problem. We don't have time to wait. Thank you. Did I look down too much?
No, you got it. That was great.
It's excellent, William.